doubt, no doubt.
Can you go up there and give me another water, please? Okay. Thank you, babe.
Tim, I got you another one too.
You did what?
I got you another one too.
Thank you, babe.
What the fuck is that? Started at 6:30. That's one of the things, that money you can put air conditioning in this building. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. All right, so what do I say? She's gonna ask me you behind the food. But we're not against it either. The answer is no. Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah, no, that's yeah, I know. Ain't nobody trying to do that. Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, I just mean you got no worry. If a person's not paying their fair share of taxes, you're really doing a disservice to the whole community. The facts are the facts. Hold people accountable.
This one?
No problem. I got you. She took past with her on the side, so you call it plus. Yeah, that's
Can you move your stuff so I can get somebody else to sit right here? I got some few people coming in here that need to sit on this road. Come on, please.
Are you serious?
Coming in, they need to sit up front. Oh. You can't sit in the back.
I mean, for the library board?
You just move. All you gotta do is move.
Okay.
Yeah. Ain't that dirty? Yeah. Let's get Mungo.
Yeah. All right.
Everyone, hello, hello. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention? Please. My name is Swan, and I'm a supervisor of the Township, Royal Oak, and I'd like to say welcome. I'd like to acknowledge the board members who are here today, the board of trustees, and all other elected and appointed officials. We are hosting this event in charge we are here because it's a very medical marijuana farm facility. I have asked, please, let's be kind. Everybody is going to have a chance to speak. I have asked our pastors of the township to facilitate this meeting. We have Pastor Bird from Second New York, Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor Bird, you want to come up? We have Pastor Wolf from Oakdale Tabernacle. We have Pastor Willis from Greater Hill. And we have Pastor Mahone from God's Grace. I'm going to pass this over to Pastor Bird, and we're going to open up in prayer, as we should always do. And then Pastor Bird will take over from here. Thank you.
We're going to ask that Pastor Willis lead us in a word. He is our senior pastor here.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all. No. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a word from your Savior. Lord, we're grateful for this time, grateful for all that you all do in our hearts. We're grateful for this event. We ask, Lord, that you would touch the hearts and minds of the people that are here tonight. We're here just for information. We're not here trying to make anyone look good or make anyone look bad. We're just here for information. Lord, we know that your will be done. You know what you're going to do. Father, we ask now you let this be done. What we do tonight be done decently and in order. We know you are an orderly God. We ask now, Lord, you would touch the hearts of those that came for different agendas. And Lord, let us make sure that whatever we do, follow instructions. Thank you, Lord, for this time you've given us. Bless our city. Bless our prosperous city. Bless our great city. Bless our loving city. And we give you all the praise for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Willis, Pastor Wolf. I have been asked to facilitate this forum here. I just want to say I'm just glad that so many of our township family have come out to hear that we can get some information because the Bible says where there's a lack of our people perish for a lack of knowledge, and it's time that we get knowledgeable about what's going on in our community. I am going to ask, as Pastor Willis was praying, that we are loving of people, that we are going to be respectful of one another's opinions. Somebody say amen. Okay, amen. If you did, you don't live in the township. Amen. So we are asking that everyone, that we be respectful. Everybody has an opinion, and we're going to let everybody speak their mind. We're not going to go back and forth arguing. If you have a question that you need answered, there is paper and pens in the back that you can write your question down, but we need you to put your address, your email address, something on there so we can make sure that we get a response back to you, because we want everybody's questions answered. So if you have a question that did not get asked or answered, please write it down and get it to somebody in the hands of somebody in the township. Is that we okay? No? I can't hear you. They're not going to. Right now, I would like to introduce the owner of the property over there on 8 Mile, the Mill Farm property. And he's going to give you his presentation on what he sees for the Mill Farm property, Mr. Randy Orr.
Test. Okay, I think that's good. So this way you can use that mic. Can you test that one?
Test it.
Okay, so we've got the mic in the headpiece. 6:55. So I've got about 15 minutes to do this presentation. Again, I want to thank Pastor Burr and the faith-based community, the clergy that's here today, in trying to facilitate this discussion. First and foremost, I really want to thank this community, the people of Royal Oak Township. I think it's awesome to see the crowd out to talk about, as Pastor Burr just mentioned, a discussion. And that's what this is. The hopes and goals is to try to share with you what my vision is as a principal and as an owner, and to have dialogue and to continue dialogue in a positive fashion so that we can do something positive, not only for here, for this community, at this property, but throughout the community. So with that being said, I do have my colleagues. Unfortunately, we were expecting something, I don't know what made us think of it, about 50 people. But we prepared some packets of information. If you could please share the packets, and that way, I think my colleague, and allow me to also introduce myself. Randy Orr, I'm the principal owner of the property referred to as the Melfire site. I'm joined today by Virgil Smith. Virgil is my community liaison. In the process, I run a lot of different companies. So it's not necessarily that I have the time to get to all the different issues that are of concern. Virgil is my one guy here in Royal Oak Township. I'm also joined by my younger son, Jacob, who's a junior in high school and a senior at Michigan State University, my oldest son. But so while Virgil's passing that out, and you'll go through it, I really want to share with you guys a little bit about, I think, what's important. And a part of it is, who are you? And many of you don't know me, and many of you do. We've been at the Township Board Trustee, I believe, 11 or 12 times for different presentations. A lot of them are much more thorough than what you have today. As a matter of fact, one of the presentations that we did was this whole book. And we did this at the Oakdale Cooperative, where we presented a whole package. This is a little, probably 125 to 130 pages. So we had to do a short down version today, and to try to get through, because we only have 15 minutes. But going back to who I am, again, my name is Randy Orr. I grew up on Woodward and 6th on a street called Parkhurst. Ended up graduating from, going from there to high school in Nolan Junior High, Greenfield Park Elementary. From there, went to Birmingham schools, graduated from Birmingham Girls. I have a high school education, and that's pretty much about it. So outside of that, the rest of it is self-taught. I went on to start a company with my brothers, which many of you who live in rural Township know, it's called Jam Sound Specialists. We had 90 stores, doing millions of dollars in business. But one of the things that was true to our heart was we were taught at a young age, and I apologize for the air conditioning and the heat when you're coming out with this, but I guess it's the best we can do right now. But one of the things that I was taught at a young age was giving back. I run a multitude of companies, and one of them is International Outdoor, which is a billboard company. Some of the sheets. We do senior turkey giveaway. In most of the communities that we're a part of, we're the food bank. To that, but at the same time, you're blessed by the wealth that you also give out. Our primary passions, which you'll see in a lot of those pictures, is two variables. One is special needs. My parents have taught us that special needs students are a kiss of God, and they're from God. God created them that way. They're special. So what we need to do is we need to help them as much as we can along the way with whatever that we can. So I'm passionate about that. The other thing is, with respect to is seniors. My father lived 40 days shy of 101. For the last 10 years of his life, he died in 2012. I was his personal caretaker as well as his power of attorney. And it was kind of touching to see a man that you put on a pedestal, but at the same time now needs 24-hour care, or can't go to the restroom, or can't even feed himself. So that's a little bit about who I am. And I shared with you with respect to how did we get here. Is in November, and I feel that people need to understand it. It's kind of a long, drawn-out process. And look at the sheet that I put together. In November 2008, voters of the state of Michigan approved and initiated a petition to legalize the use of medical marijuana within the state, and that's called the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. And the issues with what was going on at that time, there was no mechanism in place for caregivers to dispose of any excess marijuana, no authorization for commercial entities to sell marijuana, no authorized tax mechanism for the state of Michigan or local communities to obtain federal support to regulate the industry and financial support. A regulatory system for local communities to address whether or not to authorize within their boundaries. So what happened in 2016, the Michigan State Legislature created the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. And it sits underneath FARA, which is a regulatory approval board. And what they did as part of this package that you'll see, they're going to license people in 5 capacities. Growers, processors, growers to grow the product, the medical medicine. Processors, and that is that a lot of the marijuana is not necessarily smoking. Elderly like smoke. It's either, and that's processing. Provisioning as a dispensary or a retail facility, science facilities, and that is the regulatory portion where the state of Michigan, on one of these storyboards, the state of Michigan has strict guidelines with respect to, and what you're going to find, most communities that have already opted into this process are using the state as the regulatory authority. So if you're licensed by the state and you meet all this criteria, most likely the community is to approve that particular person for approval. If you're a transporter, if you're going to take medical marijuana from one facility where it's grown to it has to be documented. And it has to be documented on both sides. You have to hire a secure transporter. You're not hiring a pickup truck and a guy in a van. Documented. And the other thing is, it's taxed. So the state wants to know where that money is going, and so that they can put towards the
licensing back to the facilities. So the financial impact of MMFLA, in that legislation, it allows for each license in a municipality, the municipality to charge a $5,000 fee per license. So like our facility, we're looking at 6 to 8 licenses if we do everything that we're thinking of down the road. That automatically would be a $40,000 annual fee that the township would get just for licensing the facility. The other thing, that's a start. The other thing is that the MMFLA set up an excise fund, which is funded by a 3% tax on all the gross receipts. And that 3% tax, a percentage of that goes back to the community. So what they do is they take how many facilities of these different categories there are in that city, and they divide how many licenses are in that township by the 3%. And then kick back that amount on particular music. So what are the towns by there will be no loitering. Traffic, ingress, egress is off 8 Mile only. There is no entrance in access for the general public off of Myers through Side Street. The employment opportunities, we suspect anywhere from 50 to 100 jobs. And what we're going to be doing, which I'm going to share with you, is a community jobs first. The first people, what we're going to do is put an advisory board together. And the advisory board is going to be made up of 3 residents. And the residents are going to do the interview once we get approved at the state to work in such a facility. And those will be paid positions on the advisory board. And they're going to share with us whether or not that particular person meets their criteria. I am passionate about trying to get jobs back into a community and hopefully this would be a catalyst for other business development in the community. This to try to take some of those energy, money, and resources and put it back where an advisory board may be within the township and see what it is that the township. I have a lot of resources. We have a lot of people on staff. I have planners on staff, and planners as well. But I've got a lot of development experience. One of the things that I didn't share with you is after Jamestown, I was one of the owners of Pablo too. So, Walt Pablo Island, the old amusement park, had plenty of challenges. And we turned it into a real high-end residential development. Unfortunately, with the crash, we came crashing down too with high-end homes. But so outside of that, the one thing I think that you'll be very beneficial in this is the operations that right now the caregiver process is going to go away because the state is not controlling it. What this is going to do in this community is it's going to stop that. So people will have affordable medicine. And when I say affordable facility, which you'll see as part of this, I'm talking state information rooms. So one room where we want to educate people on the process. We want to educate people on the different methods. We want to educate people on the whole conversation of medical marijuana. I'm not a user nor am I a card holder. What I looked at is I've owned this property, and I said, what could you do with this property? How could it be there? For those of you that are not familiar with it, my son and Virgil are going to put up some photos, and that's a little bit about the state of the facility. The place is completely done. We got it. And on one occasion, they haven't had the grass cut, maybe nothing. The gentleman that does Oakdale, he cuts the grass there. If you look at the taxes, the tax revenue up, in 2016, the property generated $23,575.36 in tax revenue. In 2012, it generated $108,000. In 2008, it generated $135,000. So if you see the despair of the property at the same time, I believe that this will also increase what I've got from Township and decrease by 5 in that time period. So I believe that we can try to do it. Now, what is time? The Township. The annual license fee
if they were to approve up to 10 licenses, is $50,000 a year. The excise tax, based on what the state's revenue projections are $960 million in gross revenue. If you look at 250 licensed facilities, and you figure that out,